London elections and local elections around England are happening today. And I'm delighted to have with me on the show one of the candidates standing in the London mayor elections. I'm not standing myself today. This time I did in 2021. But this time I've had on the show before, and I'm delighted to welcome back Andreas Michli. Andreas, welcome to the show.
And again,
No, it's great to have you on. I mean, obviously, as people know, I'm leading the Heritage Party. We're standing in the Assembly, but you're standing in the London mayor elections, and you agree with a lot of the things that I would stand for in politics, which is fantastic. And so it's great to have you on the show to represent that kind of politics and the politics of freedom as well. And I think that you are the candidate that most represents freedom because when the lockdown was on, you stood up with your gym and you said, I will not comply with these regulations, which was incredibly courageous. I mean, what is the situation in London if someone wanted to try to bring back another lockdown? It seems to me that you would be the only candidate that would actually stand up and say, no, we're not going to have this in London.
yeah, I think so. I think you're right in saying that. I don't really see that sort of fighting spirit from any of the other candidates right now.
Yeah, indeed. But so, I mean, you've been campaigning so the since the nomination papers went in 5 weeks or so ago. How has the campaign been?
It has been exhausting. You probably know yourself. You went through that
Yeah.
same journey yourself, but it's been amazing. It's been so rewarding as well. When like it's just I really feel it in my heart. All the support I've been getting from people, and it's been an amazing journey.
Fantastic. What do you know now that you didn't know 5 weeks ago? What have you learned from doing this?
I've learned, you hear people saying, "Oh, you've probably heard it yourself. These elections, they're rigged. They're never going to let like someone like you into power. If voting made a difference, then why would they let us vote?" You've probably heard all these things before, and I've learned really how they sort of rig the elections. It's not like a like some in the movies where you see a bucket of votes being poured into another bucket or like that. It's really not like that. But the way they do it, I've learned it is through brainwashing. The propaganda machine is just so rife. It is
Mm.
unbelievable. The way they sort of exclude all of the candidates. We've got 13 candidates, and then they've completely excluded all of them apart from the four main party candidates. They were holding
Mm.
live debates on LBC, BBC, ITV, BBC again, literally day after day, and just showing Tories, Labour, Green, and Lib Dem. And then on top of that, you've got like the two, you've got Tories and Labour, Little Mine Khan and Snoozy Susie, I say, and they're both just saying this is a close two-horse race. And it's just like that sort of embedding that idea into people's heads, like making them
Mm.
believe that these are the only two candidates that can possibly win. And then people think, oh, I better vote for one or the other, the one I prefer the most out of these two, even though they're both, two cheeks of the same arse, excuse my language.
Yes.
This brainwashing, it has been so effective, and yeah, this is the main battle that I'm up against at the moment. This is the main thing I've learned. It's been a massive learning curve.
I mean, that was something that frustrated me so much is that when I was doing it was like, the debates, it was the COVID time. So they only had Sadiq Khan and Sean Bailey on at the time, Tory and Conservative. That was all they had. And now, there's either two in your hustings or four, but they ignore the other nine candidates. And they had the cheek to say that these are the major party candidates and the others are just not serious. When I paid £20,000 to stand in this election, because there's 10,000 for the deposit, and then there's another 10,000 to be in the booklet. And if you don't pay that 10,000 to be in the booklet, no one hears about you. So you might as well not bother. So you pay all this money. And then they got the cheek to say, oh, well, no, you're a minor candidate. We don't need to give you a platform. It's appalling,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's awful. And it's not only the money you've spent, more so for me, it was the time and effort and energy I put into
Mm.
this. You remember the nomination process. Actually, it was slightly different. I think through the COVID time, it was like you had to collect two signatures per borough.
Yeah.
But for me, I had to collect 10 signatures from people on the electoral roll from each London borough. That was a total of 330 signatures. Just that process alone was like a massive task, and it took like about a good 3-4 weeks of being proactive around, and it was the whole thing. And I've been working on this project since last year February. It is a massive, time consuming, a lot of energy's gone into it, and it's just for the mainstream media just to exclude me like that, and just no reason, no nothing. It really is. It's brainwashing to people. That's what they're doing. They're brainwashing people, making them believe that there's only 4 candidates and only 2 of them can win.
Well, they always go on about inclusivity, being inclusive. And here they are being the exact opposite of inclusive for no good reason whatsoever.
I know. I should just identify as a main party candidate or something, shouldn't
I? You should do. Yeah, you are trans Tory or something.
Yeah.
No, that actually sounds quite horrible. Sorry, I wouldn't do that. But you might get on the stage. But anyway, we're going to have a quick news break now for a minute, and we'll be back in a minute to talk more about your campaign. This is today's News Talk TNT. Andreas Michli, London Mayor Independent candidate, is with me on the show today. And we're just talking about the London Mayor elections and campaign. Welcome back, Andreas. And you were just saying that how difficult it is with the exclusion propaganda that is going on. And, what I hear a lot is, we must vote for Susan Hall to keep Sadiq Khan out, or we must vote for Sadiq Khan to keep Susan Hall out, depending on which side of the fence you're on. But you're there as an independent candidate. You've got good policies. You've got a good platform. To someone who would say that kind of thing, what would you say back to them? What would you say to them, as why people should vote for you?
The main, if I want to break down why they should vote for me is, and I think people, they're really starting to recognize this lately. There really is an appetite for something different. I'm an independent candidate. And when I say I'm independent, I have fully self-funded this entire campaign myself. I've refused to accept a single penny in donations from anyone, from an organization, from an individual, from any type of party, anything at all. And there's a reason why I did that. And it's because I don't want to ever have to owe anybody any favors. If I win this election, I would do exactly what I'm saying I'm going to do in my manifesto, because that intention came from my heart. All of my policies, all of my ideas, they came from me and experts and people I've consulted with. And that is what I intend to do. And I will do it because I don't owe anyone favors. If you look at the main party candidates, you go on their website, they've got a donate now button. They're all bought and paid for. We know this. They only act in the interests of their donors or their cronies or, the special boys club that we're not a part of. So I really am just a regular guy. I'm an ordinary person, and I really do just care about my community and the people around me. That's why I'm doing this.
Yeah, fantastic. What about your policies, however? I mean, we know Sadiq Khan has expanded the ULEZ up to the boundaries of Greater London. Susan Hall says she'll get rid of the ULEZ in outer London, but keep it in inner London. But how are your policies different to those 2 candidates in terms of transport?
In every way, they appear to be, they play off each other's backs and appearing to be like they're offering something different. They are offering the exact same thing, which is misery and oppression. They are the uni party, I call it. They're 2 cheats of the same boss. They have no meaningful distinction. I'm different in every single way. Her offering to bring the boundary back, but then later on advancing into some other type of net zero target isn't a benefit to anyone. They're both doing exactly the same thing. What I'm saying with, for example, with transport is I am freeing up our roads. And I keep saying this, these are called public highways. Nobody owns these roads. To impose a charge or a fine on them to use these roads is fundamentally an attack on our rights to travel, our human rights to travel. Everybody has a right to travel. And it's the same type of right you have to, freedom of speech, freedom of autonomy, freedom of everything. Attacking that with ULEZ, with LEZ, congestion charge, the tunnel tolls, the list is just never ending where it's going with these things. They are imposing authoritarian measures on us. That's what they're doing.
Absolutely. I mean, I do agree with you. But another issue that a lot of people are very, very concerned about, given the knife attack that happened on Tuesday. Obviously, the boy there, Daniel Adogin, was killed in Hainault. A lot of people are very concerned about that. But this has just become, immediately, it's become a political football. The Tory and Labour are saying, you're not doing enough. And then they're saying, you're not doing enough. But what would you do about knife crime and crime, policing and crime in London?
This is the thing, neither of them are doing enough. And it just shows, and this will just continue to happen again, time and time again. That incident that happened, when was it, earlier in the week? I went down there to Hainault. It was such a horrible tragedy, and it breaks my heart to say this is just going to keep happening and happening again unless somebody comes forward and does something about it. And it is so shocking to me. I'm literally shocked that out of 13 candidates, I'm the only candidate that's addressing knife crime right now. I'm the only candidate that's come forward with a plan to combat and tackle knife crime. And it's just like I'm sitting here wondering, why am I the only candidate? It's election day today, and I'm still the only candidate that wants to address that issue. The polls are telling us, all these whatever bias polls, whatever you want to call them, they're telling us that the most pressing and important issue to Londoners right now, which they've voted in these polls, is policing and crime, specifically knife crime. And no other candidates addressing it. I'm just completely shocked. Yeah, so, we've spoken about my plan before. My plan's called Operation Brennan, named after a police officer called Norman Brennan, who was one of the key consultants to my plan. Yeah, I mean, it's quite a thorough plan. There's a lot of elements to it. And I truly believe it is going to combat and tackle knife crime.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. And people can look that up in detail on your website, haven't they? Which is your candidate, your campaign website, and we'll tell us that at the end.
My manifesto was published long before all of the other candidates. It's been out there for months since last year. That plan's been there. Read it anytime you want.
Yeah, fantastic. No, something that concerns me, personally, and I think a lot of other people, is the erosion of our heritage, our beautiful buildings, our parks, our green belt, for a number of reasons. So some people, they want to bring in, there is mass immigration and people want to build on parks and greenbelt. They want to build housing developments and a lot of people are going to make a lot of money out of that. Other people want to, they buy an old building and then they leave it to get dilapidated. Then they knock it down and just build some horrible carbuncle, which is just ugly and inhuman. But what would you do, to protect our culture, protect our heritage, protect our old buildings and our parks and our green spaces in London?
Yeah, so one thing a lot of people don't realise is that the Mayor of London, he has sort of ultimate jurisdiction over planning rights in London. So one thing I would definitely be doing is placing planning restrictions, a lot more stricter planning restrictions on our heritage buildings and on the new builds that are going up. We need to start, looking at the buildings that have withstood the test of time. Some of our buildings here in London are older than America itself, older than the United States itself. And that says a lot. These new developments, they get built up. They look like prison cell blocks. They literally look like they've been built with Lego blocks. They look horrible. You said last time we spoke, they're marketed as luxury apartments. They're anything but luxury apartments. I wouldn't want to raise my family in one of them. And then they get built up. 20, 30 years later, they realize, this building is trash. Let's knock it down. Guess who makes the money to build it up again? The developers, the cronies of city halls, all the special boys club again. So nobody's benefiting from this type of cycle. We need to get out of this cycle and just start building beautiful buildings again, because this British aesthetics is actually beautiful. You look at some of our buildings, I look up at them, I'm like, wow, these were built hundreds of years ago. What are we doing wrong? We're hundreds of years down the line and we've degenerated so badly. And I'm like, how have we got here?
Yeah. And none of the parties that are considered, the main parties that are on the stage in the hustings, fake Conservative, Labour, Lib Dem, Green, none of them would do anything to protect our heritage. They're all guilty of destroying old buildings in the places where they have jurisdiction in local councils. So I think that's deplorable. So, Andreas, I'm so glad that you're standing. And then people have got someone to vote for if they care about all of these things, and not just to vote for someone who is, bad to keep out someone who is worse, because the fake Conservatives and Labour, they play this game every single time. And then it gets to election day and people go, oh, well, I better vote for them. I better vote for the Blues, or I better vote for the Reds. But then you just get the same thing anyway. So just before you go, Andreas, tell us where we can find more about your campaign and your policies if people want to read them and look at them today before they go out and vote.
Yeah, so we've got my website, michli.co.uk, spelled michli.co.uk. You can read my full manifesto there, my full knife crime plan there. The whole thing's been there, like I said, since last year. I was the first to publish my manifesto. I've put my cards on the table from the very beginning. We've also got the social media channels if you prefer something a bit more visual and you like me talking and seeing my face and hearing my voice. Yeah, and that one's at Andreas for Mayor. It's on all the main social media channels. Today's polling day. Get out there, people. Do it. You've got until 10 tonight.
Absolutely. Go and vote. If nothing else,
Yes.
go and vote. If you don't vote, you can't complain about whoever becomes the mayor. So that's great. Andreas, really great to have you on the show again. And I wish you all the best for the election today. This is today's News Talk, TNT.